Everyone out there is looking for hard sales numbers on Assassin's Creed Shadows right now, and of course Ubisoft is not providing those. They've got this metric out there saying that there's 2 million players, but what does that mean? Does that mean 2 million people bought the game? It doesn't look like it, as Ubisoft's giving out free codes. There's the Ubisoft Plus situation going on right here, and they're actually trying to get Steam to stop reporting its numbers, which really lends to the fact that this is not a success whatsoever. This is an abject failure. It's looking like it's even worse than projected for Ubisoft, even though they're now saying they're on track for an end of the month 6 million players. Yeah, right. I don't see this whatsoever. This is going to be crashing and burning as fast as possible. Reviews are mixed on the game all the way around from actual players. And, some people are just lured by the graphics, which look nice, and that's it. But most people see, okay, there's no gaming experience that's better than any other Assassin's Creed game. It's basically the same thing ported to Japan, and then they ruined the Japanese setting with some slop, with some DEI integration there. And so it's just not worth playing because you could just go play any other Assassin's Creed game and get the same experience, but without that crap. So what's going on right here? We're going to get into it in just a moment because it looks like they're trying to hide the numbers more and more, and that always means there's problems going on. Please hit the like and subscribe button as we talk about all things in the culture here, my friends. I am a fantasy author myself. This is my book, The Demon's Eye. If you want a great experience with a strong male lead who's going out and fighting evil, this is a great read for you. We got huge sales overnight. I think it's because Clownfish TV was talking about us last night. So thank you. Props to Clownfish TV. Really appreciate you being there. And this is a wonderful book that is pushing back against the mainstream. So check it out. It's in the description below. It supports our channel here. It's only $4.99 for you to get started reading my books, which I appreciate. Everybody who's done so, thanks so much for making this a success as we launched this week as well. All right, so Paul Tassi has been writing article after article just shilling for Assassin's Creed Shadows. He's one of the worst, of course, shilly game stream journos out there, period. And he's going, is it a success or is it not? 2 million players after just a few days means it's outperformed Origins and Odyssey over the same period. This is the narrative because I've seen every website saying it's outperformed Odyssey and Origins. It's outperforming Odyssey and Origins. It's outperformed Odyssey and Origins. That's what they're saying. Of course, Valhalla was the biggest one out of all of them, and so they can't say it's the best and most successful one. But here's the deal. 2 million players does not equal 2 million sales, or they would have said that, at least with some of them paying for their subscription service. Perhaps not a large portion, but some. See, he's actually being, again, shilly here because I think it is a large portion. I don't think it's anywhere near 2 million sales. Otherwise, they'd say we have 1 million sales because they'd already have that, right? Or 1.5 million sales if it was most of it. Interesting stuff right there. But look at this breakdown right here. This is a great post I saw about the AC Shadows being more popular than Origins and Odyssey on day one releases. The concurrent user count for Steam as a platform is 41.2 million right now when AC Shadows released. At their peak, the concurrent user counts for these games was a percentage of total Steam users. Check it out. AC Origins peaked on October 2017, and here's the percentage of Steam users at the time. So 0.248%. Odyssey was 0.381% when it peaked on 18 out of how many people were on Steam at the time. So now there's a lot more. Look, there's 3 times the amount of people on Steam, but it's only 0.157% of the users that are actually on Steam for their peak concurrent count. So while the numbers are slightly more than Odyssey in terms of actual players on here, more people have moved away from consoles to Steam to this. So it actually skews the numbers in a way where this is an abject failure, because if this is 3 times the amount of users that are on Steam, which means there are less console players at this point. Why? Because there's no exclusive games on Xbox or PS5. I mean, it's a big problem that both these companies have. Only moving the needle by a couple thousand people as a peak concurrent count is a massive problem. A massive, massive problem on this. To contextualize, in terms of concurrent users as a percentage of total, AC Shadows has performed the worst out of these 3 Assassin's Creed games available from day one on Steam. For a very crude example, imagine telling your parents about getting a score of a 70 on 2 exams, but one exam had a maximum of 100 points, while the other had a maximum of 300 points. It's the same reason people get so mad when you bring up crime stats per capita. By the way, 13% of the population does about 50-something% of the crime time. Ask Yasuke about that sometime. See what he thinks. But this is pretty interesting right here as we get into some of this data and we see exactly what's going on. There is a problem here where they're saying it's going to do 6 million in its first month's trajectory. This is what their behind-the-scenes quote data says, and they said they removed the Valhalla tweet because I was sourcing Valhalla Wiki. Valhalla Day 1 players was 2.5 million. Odyssey Day 1 was 400,000. Shadows Day 2 players. So, yes, Day 1 players. Day 1 players on Shadows was 1 million, by the way. So this doesn't look good. Shadows should do about 6 million in its first month in its trajectory. Valhalla did 8 million is what they said. I don't believe that whatsoever, but 6 million is about break even for them, so they would have a not huge success as it is if that's the case. Now, what's going on at this point is because everybody is comparing these Steam numbers, because that's the only numbers we have, that's all that we have here, and if you look at Shadow's Steam chart, we can give a little clue as to what's going on right now. It's already reached its peak yesterday. Now it's starting to drop off. It's a Monday, so it will drop off, and this will start to decline over the weekend. We'll see what happens next weekend. I doubt it'll climb back over this. You see Monster Hunter Wilds is still well over the 100,000 mark as they're playing right here. Which means that this is a not huge success compared to Monster Hunter Wilds at all. And these are numbers that are less than Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is crazy because this is a much, much bigger, much more expensive game to produce. Now, Ubisoft is demanding that, of course, they remove these Steam chart players. They don't want people to see this because they don't want people to see whether it's a success or not. And this tells me that Ubisoft is trying to hide the data. Between the fact that they keep saying that there's 2 million players, not sales, it's very, very clear what their agenda is and very, very clear what's happening here. They want to hide. And this is exactly what they do in the comic book industry. The comic book industry used to report its sales and everybody would be able to look at it. Then in 2020, when the pandemic hit, they switched things over so they don't actually report things. All you see is what's the top and in the top 50, but you don't have actual data numbers. And so they could be, selling 20% less, 50% less than they were in 2019, but you won't know because they don't report the numbers anymore. And they like that because then they can report something's a success when something's not. So Marvel and DC can go, we have the greatest selling comic of the year. Well, what does that even mean, right? Doesn't mean anything. And they could use it for marketing. And that's what these marketing departments want as these companies are failing. Because if everything was fine and good, there's no reason to hide anything. There's no reason not to be transparent. You want to be transparent when things are going well. And that's what we see from smaller companies. We saw with Space Marine 2 how big the sales were ridiculously compared to what they actually spent on the game. And that's why that game was going better and better. As word of mouth gets out there on how great things are, it does go. And that's how marketing works. So they want to change this on the marketing level. So here's another thing that's happening this morning. VP and executive producer Mark Alexis Cote sent out a morale-boosting company-wide email at Ubisoft. Now, remember, I spoke last week with somebody at Ubisoft who said there's a culture of toxic positivity going on, saying that things are very, very amazing and that it's going to sell 5 million copies, everything's fine, and you're not allowed to actually criticize anything or you might get fired out there. He downplayed things on Steam, saying it's only 27% of total sales. That's pretty interesting. So if 60,000 people are playing it, what's the maximum that actually have been bought? Maybe 100,000 copies, right? And so if that's 20%, we're looking at a 500,000 maybe sales overall, right? If that's the case, because that's really all that could have possibly happened at this point. Otherwise, what's going on that front? It says AC Shadows is a top first day launch on PSN. Okay. Revenue is number 2 after Valhalla, he said. And most player engagement, most wishlisted Ubisoft title of all time, he says. The game is selling. Is it selling enough to save Ubisoft? I don't think so. I still think it's way, way underperforming here. Way, way crazy. And I think these numbers are being faked for a reason because these people are very, very cagey about this and trying to get a marketing boost beyond what's going on. But if you look over back on this article that they're saying that they're all fine and the Steam comparisons are totally fine. Everything's good. I don't know why Forbes keeps doing this every time I go through this. Dragon Age the Veilguard had a higher concurrent Steam count. It's true. It seemed like the Veilguard would at least be some level of a hit until it was eventually revealed it did about half of what EA wanted. I think that's what we're going to find here with Assassin's Creed Shadows as well. The critic reception, 81 Metascore. It's middle of the road for an AC release, which is a little bit skewed, I think, because of people doing stuff. And here's what he says. It's Shadows is a hit somewhere between Odyssey and Valhalla, and the player reception, geez, stupid Forbes. Oh well, is doing okay is what they call it. I don't think it's a hit at all. I think this is an abject failure for Ubisoft, and this is being hidden and skewed intentionally. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Check out the Demon's Eye novel on Amazon right now, guys. This is a hit, and I appreciate you guys for checking things out. It's in the description below, and we'll be back soon.